Good afternoon, and thank you for this very flattering introduction. I'm really humbled with all these praises, and we're just trying to do in an extreme humble way little contributions here and there. I think what these are little and humble contributions, how they have been made impactful. This is entirely because of our partners and because of the communities with whom we have been very actively engaged and implementing some of these projects, and a couple of them which we are seeing today. Now, it's always good to come to those so-called project closure ceremonies, and it always leaves with a kind of a very mixed feelings. You have this very deep satisfaction, and some of the work, some of the hard labor coming to the fruition and the conclusion, and you see the smiling faces of the people, and they come out and they actually express their feelings and their sentiments in a very unfiltered manner. And that's what we have been actually, I have been personally sitting here since this morning and feeling and being very deeply touched and becoming a little bit kind of a sentimental as well. But there's a bigger picture, and there's always a bigger picture to look at things and a bigger perspective. It might be kind of a relatively small interventions, and we have done some tremendous work with Islamic Relief and similarly other partners in some of very challenged regions in Pakistan, especially Balochistan and KPK and some of the remote and rural Sindh areas. So in terms of the size, so these are not very big interventions, but I'm sure that we all have seen the impact they are creating for the local communities. That's quite significant and quite impactful. But at the same time, I think one of the added value of these kind of events and these kind of ceremonies is kind of having this kind of a reflection and look at it, that how far we have been successful bringing the resilience agenda, the DRR and the DRF and the climate adaptation into the spectrum of our work as institutions, as individuals, as practitioners. So we have heard very insightful discussion from the panel, and these are the group of the people who have hands-on experience, and they are also very seasoned in terms of developing policy frameworks with the government, and some of them actually have the benefit of not only the Pakistani government but bringing the regional experience, the regional expertise, and some of the best practices, and they have really infused this into the discussion this morning. Now, from us, from 𝑁𝒃 perspective, this is also extremely valuable, and we also like to learn, and we would like to kind of keep on questioning and challenging ourselves that how 𝒁𝒃 as an institution actually fit into this bigger picture in the resilience agenda, and then at the same time looking from a very critical perspective as well, that how far we have been actually successful in whatever little and humble way the kind of the projects and interventions which we have been designing and implementing through our partners. So in that sense, so the morning was quite insightful and the morning was quite rewarding. And sitting there, of course, I was having this kind of a sense of achievement that okay, these are the set of the two projects which we have implemented, and there's several more, and in the coming months you are going to be sitting in some of these halls, coming up some of the closing ceremonies of the work that we have just concluded on 30th of June in several parts of the country. But at the same time, I mean, it's a moment of kind of thanking my staff as well as our partners and a number of other people who have been directly and indirectly engaged. But at the same time, from a From a kind of climate policy practitioner point of view, I also was thinking that how far we are in sync or in collaboration with the amount and the scale of the efforts we need to do in order to bring some resilience. Resilience in the true sense for the communities, for the economy, for the society as a whole. And that put me into a little kind of a worrying situation, and I'm sure that anyone who is in a similar state of mind like myself should be kind of introspecting it from a very similar fashion as well. What basically it means is that yes, we have done some work, and thanks to our donors, ADB, and our partners, and similarly others as well. But we know that when it comes to climate change, we know that the scale of the threat and the gravity of the challenges is just increasing day by day. And this applies to all the developing countries, and it applies to many of the countries in the region as well. But being sitting here in Pakistan, Pakistan is one of those frontline states who have been at the brunt of facing the climatic threats and not actually having the capacity to deal with the scale and the gravity of these challenges. So what it means is that whatever we have been doing, we need to kind of scale our efforts up. We need to put a lot more resources into it, but at the same time, we need to make sure the impact of those and the return of those resources is a lot more what we are trying to, what we have been able to achieve so far. While we have been able to finance and support a number of projects, we have a huge list of the projects and interventions, and all of these projects are extremely viable projects. And when I say that extremely viable, it's not only from the perspective of the finances, but viable in terms of the communities who have suffered. And we know from our data, from our observations, from research and development work, and we are also actually very actively engaged that in the coming years, in the next season, or in 5 years, some of the children, they're not going to be having the school buildings, and that is of course going to be disrupting their education. And similarly, some of the livestock is going to be lost as well. And we all know that in the rural communities, how important and economically valuable the livestock stocks are for those people. And we also know from our observations, from our research work, the studies and engagement with the community that some of the villages and entire villages and the communities might have to be dislocated, and they have to move away from the land in which they have been habiting and they've been living, and they've been actually building their lives for many decades. So it's not easy. So we have a very long list of the projects for which we are actually gaining ourselves up, and we are actually mobilizing the additional financing, and quite a substantial amount of financing we will need. And once again, thanks to our donors who have the kind of a trust on 𝑑𝒐𝒑𝒊𝒆𝒏, and we have been actually transfer and translate this trust to our partners in terms of making some of these interventions coming to life, and not only life, actually bringing to their conclusion. And so looking forward, moving ahead, I think we have a much bigger task at hand. And the scale of the challenges which we have as an institution, prepared ourselves in the last 1 year or so, we have prepared ourselves institutionally to be at the front and forefront and actually take up this challenge and to work out and to be engaged with more and more communities, with more and more partners. So I will just take a minute or so just to kind of highlight some of the work which we have done in the recent past, and we believe that the structure and the strategic nature of that work actually allowing us to move forward in a much more confident, in a much more mature manner in order to deal with these challenges. So we realize, this is a discussion which came out from this morning panel discussion as well, and some of the point, and we realize that the resilience building is something which is a long-term agenda. No country, no society, no community can actually build the resilience or to be come to a point when they say that, okay, we are fully resilient now. We are climate proof. We have addressed all our disaster risks, and we have the financing and all the other resources in place to deal with all these upcoming challenges. So this is not going to happen. This is a very different world in which we are living, and it is going to be increasingly difficult and challenging. You know, based on that realization, we come up with a 10-year business strategy for 𝑹𝒔𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒄, and that 10-year business strategy actually lay out a roadmap for resilience building for Pakistan, basically. And it has all the essential components. So it has the element of disaster risk reduction into it, climate adaptation. It has the other component of climate and disaster risk modeling, which has been missing from the scene in Pakistan for a very long period of time. And similarly, disaster risk financing, which is a very essential component of our mandate and agenda, which is our fiscal resilience for the country. So we have the very first time the disaster risk financing strategy, which has been adopted, and we are right now in the mode of its implementation. So the business strategy provides that framework, and this business strategy has been developed in consultation with all our partners, with all of the stakeholders, donors, and quite a wide group of partners who have provided their inputs, and they basically gave us the guidance and they gave us the inputs and the insight that how do they want 𝑹𝒔𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒐𝒏 to operate and evolve in the coming years. And I'm sure that many of you must have gone through that document, and this has become a singular book for us in terms of us moving forward. Now the second quite a landmark kind of initiative which 𝒕𝒊𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒂𝒑 which is our natural catastrophic model, the 𝑁CAT model. So this we long felt that there is a kind of a huge knowledge gap when it comes to the climate and disaster risk modeling, and we realized that quite an incredible amount of investments were being undertaken without actually having any risk modeling and any scientific basis for the investment to take place. So we were never sure actually in many of the cases whether this is the best this is the best use of this dollar value, and whether the return, not only the economic or financial return, but returns in terms of the benefits it brings to it, the resilience it contributes to it, and a number of other parameters as well, whether it is the best use for this money. And so we have actually we have addressed that gap, and we are at a situation now where we can provide a lot of support and in this very particular area as well. Now, the third one is disaster risk financing, and this is where we are actually coming forward, and we are setting up some of the innovative financial instruments and the financial models, which is going to be including the insurance and non-insurance instruments and the components, which we believe that somewhere down the road, maybe in 10 years or 20 years point of time, that is going to be supporting the government in terms of diversifying its disaster risk financing resources, shifting the burden away from the government books towards more private sector. There is a lot of talk this morning for the engagement of the private sector. So the mechanisms or the frameworks, the policy frameworks, which are needed to be there, of course, that document actually provides that framework. Previously it was just non-existent, and one of the reasons that we have not really seen much of the action coming from the private sector. We believe that with this we can provide them those stepping stones and those frameworks, and we'll be seeing a lot more action actually coming from the private sector. Now, there are a few things, and the madam have arrived in the room. Welcome. And there are a couple of things I just want to highlight, which are kind of very much kind of a sharply aligned to these two projects. A few things which have become the hallmark of 𝒕𝒊𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒂𝒑, and one of them, of course, is that we've been investing into the areas, into the regions which are extremely vulnerable, but at the same time they are remote, and at the same time they are in areas which are challenged in many ways, including safety and security of those people who actually work on those projects. And these two projects are actually a very good indicator of all these Now the other is, which we take a lot of pride within 𝒔𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒐𝒏, which is related to this community engagement and the involvement in the design, implementation, and then subsequently sustainability of the project prevention. So CBRDM is something, it's a science which I cannot say that it was invented by 𝒔𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒐𝒏, but I can safely say that this has been practiced, this has been popularized in Pakistan by 𝒔𝒂𝒑𝒊𝒐𝒏, and this is based on the best results we received and on the best practices which we have been able to implement on the ground. And we are going to be taking these best practices forward as well. And we have taken a step forward actually bringing or enhancing the capacity of our partners in this regard as well. So I'll stop here. I'll thank you very much, and it's extremely pleasing and to see particularly these two projects coming to conclusion. But